Harley Davidson's Trikes, once pitched as the future of freedom, are now piling up in showrooms like unsold relics. Dealers aren't bragging about sales, they're drowning in inventory, slashing margins, and throwing in free gear just to keep the lights on. What looks like generosity on the surface is actually a distress signal from America's most iconic motorcycle brand. For decades, Harley thrived on scarcity and mystique. Waiting lists stretched for months, and buyers felt lucky to get their hands on anything with a Harley badge. But today, trikes that were supposed to anchor an aging audience have become symbols of hesitation. Too heavy, too expensive, too confusing. Behind closed doors, corporate executives are cutting shipments, massaging the numbers, and trying to disguise decline as discipline. Because if Harley can't sell its trikes, the question isn't just about three wheels, it's about whether the entire brand is heading for collapse. Stay until the end, because the last truth will change how you see Harley forever. Dealer desperation. This isn't a discount, it's a distress signal. Step inside certain Harley Davidson showrooms today, and you are struck not by the roar of freedom, but by silence. Rows of three-wheelers sit like forgotten parade floats, polished chrome glinting under fluorescent lights, their seats never warmed by a rider. Some are draped with banners screaming free warranty, others flanked by racks of helmets and jackets tossed in at no charge. The effect is surreal. A machine once sold as the pinnacle of American road culture now treated like a stubborn appliance dealers can't unload. For decades, Harley made scarcity part of its magic. Waiting lists, markups, and whispered promises of limited editions kept buyers hungry. But trikes have flipped that script upside down. The Road Glide 3, pitched as revolutionary, has become showroom wallpaper. The freewheeler, meant to be an accessible gateway, is collecting dust in corners. Even the extravagant CVO Tri-Glide, draped in exclusive paint schemes, sits untouched despite the spectacle. Instead of commanding respect, these machines have become props in a desperate theater of giveaways. Dealers know every day an unsold trike sits is money burning. Floor plan financing ticks like a metronome, interest compounding while customers walk past without a second glance. That is why they are throwing in windshields, luggage racks, extended warranties, even service credits that stretch for years. To a buyer, it feels like Christmas morning. To the dealership, it feels like survival on borrowed time. The real shock is not just the discounts, it is what they represent. Harley's trikes were supposed to anchor the brand's aging audience, a promise that when two wheels felt unstable, three would keep the legacy alive. Instead, they have become symbols of hesitation, machines that intimidate buyers with bulk, price, and confusion. The company that once turned motorcycles into cultural currency is now watching dealers stage clearance events for its most ambitious models. And this isn't just a stumble, it is the canary in Harley's coal mine. If an icon can't move its trikes, what does that say about the future of the brand itself? But Harley's response wasn't to push harder, it was to slam the brakes. Corporate brakes. Harley didn't slow down, Harley hit the brakes. As dealer lots filled with unsold three-wheelers, executives in Milwaukee started cutting shipments. Rather than flood showrooms with even more unsold metal, Harley deliberately held back. Investors heard the coded language on quarterly calls. Shipments trimmed, production aligned with demand, revenue guidance eased down. Behind those phrases is a simple truth. If the company had kept pumping out trikes, dealers would have drowned. This retreat is not just about trikes, of course. Inflation, higher interest rates, and a softening market for big-ticket toys have cooled the entire motorcycle sector. But trikes are uniquely vulnerable. They carry the highest prices, the heaviest weight, and the narrowest appeal. When a freewheeler sits on the lot, it takes up the same space as two cruisers and ties up far more cash. When a Road Glide 3 remains unsold, it reminds every passerby that Harley's promise of innovation failed to land. The decision to cut shipments was meant to protect the brand from embarrassment as much as to balance the books. Behind closed doors, managers admitted the cuts were not about strategy, but optics. Fewer shipments meant fewer headlines about bloated lots, giving the illusion of balance. Yet for dealers stuck with leftover trikes, the slowdown felt like abandonment, a reminder that corporate survival often trumps showroom survival. And yet Harley's own numbers tell a very different story. Category versus model contradiction. Harley says trikes are up. So why are dealers drowning in them? In recent investor slides, the company proudly bundled touring, trike, and CVO sales together and declared that the segment showed growth in North America. On the surface, that sounds like momentum. But talk to the men and women behind the counters, and the story flips. Certain two-wheel touring bikes still move briskly, and CVO models attract loyal collectors. The trikes, by contrast, are the outliers. Expensive, awkwardly positioned, and slow to leave the floor. The contradiction comes from the way data is packaged. A corporate report can claim success in a category while ignoring the drag inside it. Imagine a supermarket boasting that dairy sales are up, while a particular cheese molders unsold in the fridge. The overall headline hides the painful detail. The Road Glide 3, which should have been a crown jewel, is instead a constant markdown project. The freewheeler, designed as an accessible entry, is neither cheap enough nor equipped enough to win hearts. When Harley says trikes are part of a winning story, what they really mean is that two-wheel tourers are doing the heavy lifting. Investors glance at the bundled figures and cheer, but dealers roll their eyes. They know the victory is paper-thin, hiding a battlefield of unsold chrome. The category math is neat for quarterly slides, yet in the real world, every stranded trike is a billboard of contradiction and decline. To see the truth, you have to look model by model. If you've made it this far, you know this isn't just another Harley story, it's a warning. Drop a like if you're following the trail and hit the comments with your take. The 7 pain points. The models Harley can't move, even with freebies, tell the full story. Start with the Road Glide 3. At a price north of $32,000, it should radiate luxury. Yet buyers see a stripped infotainment system, intimidating weight, and no clear reason to choose it over a Tri-Glide Ultra. The freewheeler, meant to be a stripped-down alternative, instead occupies a confusing middle ground. Heavier than a cruiser, but lacking the protection of a tourer, leaving it without a clear audience. Then comes the CVO Tri-Glide, a machine tipping the scales above 1,200 pounds and priced around $55,000. Even wealthy riders hesitate at that figure, fearing depreciation that outpaces the thrill. Conversions are not faring better. The Dyna conversions, once beloved by custom builders, suffer from poor balance and no factory support, making them less desirable despite their nostalgia. Switchback conversions fail to replicate the nimble charm of the original two-wheelers, leaving them awkward and uncomfortable at speed. Softail conversions create inconsistency because aftermarket kits vary so widely. Buyers balk at paying car-level prices for something that may or may not ride well. And the ultra-classic conversion, meant to deliver ultimate touring comfort, instead feels bloated and overpriced compared to Harley's own factory-engineered trikes. Every model tells a cautionary tale, but together they paint a mural of overreach. Harley tried to serve every niche at once: luxury seekers, budget riders, nostalgic converts, and ended up pleasing none. The result is an overcrowded lineup where each trike cannibalizes the other instead of commanding loyalty. Each of these machines highlights a specific failure: too heavy, too expensive, too confusing, or too compromised. Dealers can stack discounts, accessories, and financing gimmicks, but the buyers are not fooled. The problems are not just cosmetic or financial, they are structural. But these problems aren't just about looks or price, they're baked into physics itself. The right upgrades can ease some of that pain. Check the description for seats, bars, and comfort gear that riders swear by. Physics problem. 3 wheels solve one problem and create 3 more. Riders often turn to trikes because 2 wheels have become unstable for them, whether from age, injury, or confidence. Adding a third wheel does provide security at highway speeds, reducing tip-over risks and giving the rider peace of mind. But physics has a way of taking back what it gives. A machine that stretches well past 1,000 pounds and nearly the width of a small car changes everything about daily use. Garage doors that easily swallowed a touring bike suddenly feel too tight. Driveways become puzzles of clearance. Low-speed maneuvering, once second nature, now feels like steering a barge through traffic cones. Reverse gear is supposed to help, yet on certain conversions and even some factory trikes, it is either absent or underpowered. Imagine backing an entire subcompact car using only your arms. That is what trike riders face if the system fails or if their model never included one. The bulk becomes a constant tax, not just on muscles but on enthusiasm. What once felt like freedom now feels like a chore. In crowded city streets, that tax grows unbearable. Parking spots that would cradle a cruiser suddenly become no-go zones. Riders step off frustrated, not liberated. Riders describe it as wrestling a reluctant beast. At highway speed, the trike feels steady, but in parking lots or tight alleys, it becomes stubborn and clumsy. What promised independence turns into exhaustion. Physics does not bend for marketing, and buyers quickly discover the compromise hidden in three wheels. And just when riders think they can stretch to afford one, the bank says no. Financing wall. The bank said no, twice. The modern trike often carries a sticker price that rivals a car. $32,000 for a Road Glide 3, $29,000 for a freewheeler, and more than $50,000 for a CVO Tri-Glide. Those figures might make sense for a luxury sedan, but for a motorcycle, albeit with three wheels, they shock buyers. Lenders treat these machines like high-risk toys, layering in interest rates that can push the monthly payment into the same bracket as a compact SUV. A rider might walk into a showroom with excitement and walk out after the finance office shows them a bill of $500 to $700 every month for 7 years. That is why dealers throw everything they can at the numbers. Zero-interest teaser loans, trade-in bonuses, and cashback credits try to ease the burden. But the arithmetic rarely lies. For many households, a trike is the second or even third vehicle, not a necessity. When costs soar, practicality wins, and the dream goes cold. Even those who sign the dotted line sometimes regret it later, trapped in long-term loans on machines that depreciate fast. The financing wall is not a matter of passion, it is a matter of math, and math does not bend for heritage. But even if Harley slashed prices, another trap springs shut, the brand itself. Brand trap. Harley can't discount its way out without breaking the badge. The company has cultivated an image for over a century, chrome, pride, and the sense that you are buying into a brotherhood, not a bargain bin. Heavy discounting, especially on flagship models, risks puncturing that aura. If loyalists see a CVO Tri-Glide marked down by $10,000, they do not feel lucky, they feel betrayed. Owners who paid full price watch their resale values collapse. The very loyalty Harley depends on begins to fray. Prestige products are not supposed to be haggled over like used furniture. This brand trap leaves Harley caught between two cliffs. Keep prices high and inventory clogs dealer floors. Cut too much and the badge itself loses shine. Resale markets already show steep drops for trikes compared with two-wheel tourers. Buyers notice. They whisper that three-wheelers are the ones you can get a deal on. That label, once attached, sticks like rust. Harley built its empire on the idea that a bike was not just transport, but a symbol. Symbols cannot be discounted without losing meaning. The trike line is now forcing a choice between financial survival and cultural integrity, and neither option looks safe. That's why dealers are forced to play a dangerous game with giveaways. Dealer math. When a giveaway isn't a giveaway. Dealers live under the weight of floor plan financing, the system where banks front them the money for inventory and charge interest until the unit sells. Every unsold trike is not just a space hog, it is an interest clock ticking. The longer it sits, the less profit remains when it finally rolls out the door. That is why dealerships look desperate. They bundle in windshields, luggage racks, extended warranties, or even dealer credits that cover service and accessories. On paper, the motorcycle still sells for full price. In practice, thousands of dollars evaporate in extras. From the outside, these tactics feel generous. Customers tell friends they got a free windshield or scored a lifetime warranty. Inside the dealer's office, it is survival math. Move the unit today, even at razor-thin margins, or watch tomorrow's carrying costs wipe out the profit entirely. Some showrooms even avoid ordering new trikes, fearing they will become immovable anchors. That cycle feeds the narrative that Harley trikes are giveaways, because the only way to make them move is to shower the buyer with everything short of the keys to the dealership itself. But the storm isn't only in the showrooms. Corporate is scrambling too. Corporate retreat. Harley's quiet retreat. Build less, protect more. In recent quarters, the company's executives began using coded language to signal a slowdown. Shipments were throttled, not because demand was booming, but because dealers were drowning in unsold inventory. Harley did not want photographs of showrooms stuffed with idle trikes to circulate online. By cutting the flow, the company could claim discipline, even while sales lagged. This tactic also shielded margins. Instead of discounting units into oblivion, Harley leaned on its stronger touring and CVO lines, where loyalists were still paying premiums for exclusivity and brand aura. For trike fans, this meant fewer models arriving at local shops, a subtle form of rationing. Harley was essentially admitting that demand could not absorb the output, so the spigot had to close. The retreat worked on paper. Margins held steadier than they would have under heavy discounting, and investors appreciated the discipline, but the strategy also starved the trike line. Dealers who actually had interest from buyers often could not secure the right configurations. Enthusiasts who might have been convinced with a timely demo ride instead faced empty lots or month-long waits. The balancing act kept Harley's financial statements neat, but it left the core product looking weak and unsupported. But where Harley retreats, rivals rush in. Competitors strike. The Spider and the Slingshot don't care about your heritage. While Harley throttled its shipments, Can-Am and Polaris expanded aggressively. Their machines do not carry the weight of tradition, but they offer simplicity and comfort that speak to many of the same buyers Harley hopes to capture. The Can-Am Spider, with its reverse trike layout, feels stable even to a brand new rider. The Polaris Slingshot, technically more of an autocycle, provides car-like controls with open-air thrills. Both sidestep the issues that plague Harley trikes: heavy weight, intimidating handling, and sky-high prices. In showrooms across North America, the difference became stark. Shoppers who tested a Harley three-wheeler often left shaking their heads at the bulk, then wandered into a neighboring dealership where a Spider or Slingshot awaited. There, the controls felt familiar, the learning curve flatter, and the financing slightly more forgiving. These brands did not need a century of mystique because they delivered practicality. Buyers who once dreamed of chrome and heritage instead signed paperwork on futuristic plastics and automotive-style dashboards. Harley's insistence on protecting brand prestige gave competitors an open door, and they walked right through it. Each lost sale weakened Harley's position, not just in trikes, but in the broader mobility landscape. And the worst blow didn't come from rivals. It came from winter, dealer fallout. When the season closes the store, motorcycles have always been seasonal products, but trikes amplify the cycle. Their weight and width make them impractical in cold climates, where icy driveways and narrow garages turn them into oversized liabilities. Dealers in northern states face brutal slowdowns once the first frost arrives. For some small family-owned shops, the math no longer works. When half the showroom is filled with unsold trikes as the riding season ends, carrying costs pile up while customers vanish until spring. A single bad winter can push a fragile dealership into closure. Stories from across the Midwest and Northeast highlight this pain, Showrooms once bustling with weekend demo rides fall silent. Staff are laid off, community bike nights vanish, and longtime owners announce retirement rather than struggle through another year of red ink. In these regions, trikes are the heaviest anchors. Unlike nimble cruisers or affordable entry-level bikes that can be pushed out with a discount, trikes often remain locked in place for months. Winter exposes their weakness more than any rival could. By February, the glossy chrome becomes a reminder of lost opportunities rather than freedom. Dealers know the season is a cycle, but repeated losses erode their ability to rebound. And corporate's answer is a brand new playbook. The new playbook. The new giveaway playbook. Harley knows that starving dealers or watching them close is not sustainable, so it has begun rolling out structured incentive programs. Instead of leaving each showroom to cobble together desperate discounts, corporate now offers official financing buy-downs, extended service plans, and dealer credits that can be pitched as bonuses. A buyer may be told they are receiving thousands in accessories or a warranty worth years of peace of mind. On paper, Harley can still claim the unit sold at full price. In practice, the value equation has shifted heavily toward the consumer. This strategy reframes the giveaway narrative. Rather than a dealer tossing in freebies out of desperation, the offers appear polished and endorsed by headquarters. The psychology matters. Buyers feel reassured that the incentives are part of a plan, not a fire sale. Dealers gain breathing room, and corporate can better manage the optics. Still, the underlying issue remains. Trikes require so much sweetening that they rarely leave the floor without heavy corporate support. The playbook may slow the bleeding, but it does not cure the wound. What it does do is buy Harley time to reposition and rethink, even as other pressures mount on the horizon. But the fallout won't stop at the register. It's headed straight for politics. You've seen how deep this goes, and we're still just scratching the surface. If you want the next chapter the moment it drops, subscribe now. Don't miss the reveal that ties Harley's trike crisis to something even bigger: political optics. Main Street subsidies, biker edition. Harley Davidson has long been more than a motorcycle company. It is an American symbol, a brand wrapped in flags and freedom, invoked by politicians whenever they want to look tough or patriotic. But when unsold trikes clog showrooms, the conversation shifts. Suddenly, the story is not about chrome and leather. It is about inflation, interest rates, and whether Washington should help a cultural icon keep rolling. Some lawmakers frame the trike pileup as evidence that the Federal Reserve's rate hikes are crushing discretionary spending. Others argue it is the market doing its job, correcting for a niche product that overshot its audience. The optics are powerful. Images of dealers offering free accessories on machines that cost more than $30,000 land awkwardly in an economy where families struggle with groceries and rent. Still, political rhetoric thrives on contradiction. On one hand, Harley is a premium brand selling luxury goods. On the other, it is American manufacturing heritage under siege. Debates flare about whether incentives for electric vehicles or tariffs on imports are starving Harley's core audience. The trike struggle becomes another battlefield in the larger culture war about what kind of industries the nation should save. But the loudest fight isn't in Congress, it's on the factory floor. Labor angle. The line moves or the line stops. For the men and women who assemble Harleys in plants from Wisconsin to Pennsylvania, the trike crisis is not abstract. It is about shifts, hours, and whether overtime disappears. When corporate throttles shipments, fewer units roll down the line. Workers feel it immediately in their paychecks. A proud tradition of craftsmanship meets the cold reality of modern demand cycles. Many employees are second or third generation Harley builders. They see their livelihood tied to machines that once symbolized unstoppable strength, now gathering dust in dealerships. Heritage pride clashes with anxiety. Union representatives push back against reduced allocations, warning that a trike slowdown today could become a plant closure tomorrow. Meanwhile, morale wavers as rumors spread about which models will be cut next. Some workers insist the brand can weather another dip, just as it has in past recessions. Others remember the painful layoffs of decades past and brace themselves for another round. The shop floor becomes a microcosm of America's broader labor struggles, balancing nostalgia, loyalty, and survival in an unforgiving market. And investors, they're not sentimental, they're surgical. Investor lens. When inventory becomes a balance sheet horror, Wall Street does not care about heritage. Analysts pore over margins, shipment volumes, and balance sheet exposures. Trikes are supposed to be high-margin products, but when they sit unsold, they devour capital. Each markdown chips away at profitability. Every accessory thrown in as a freebie shows up later as a write-down. Investors see a brand fighting gravity. Protecting margins by cutting shipments looks disciplined, but if sales continue sliding, the company risks shrinking itself into irrelevance. Discounting is particularly dangerous for Harley. Once investors see a product line requiring constant giveaways, they label it weak. That perception lingers long after a recovery begins. Balance sheets then become haunted houses, filled with ghosts of unsold trikes and eroded goodwill. Analysts warn that too many promotions can spook lenders and insurers, raising borrowing costs for the company itself. What began as a retail struggle snowballs into a financial stigma. For Harley to reassure investors, it must either prove trikes can sell without life support or quietly reduce their importance in the lineup. Neither option is simple, and both carry risks, which leaves just one question. What should riders do? Consumer reality. This is the best and the riskiest time to buy a Harley trike. For buyers, the flood of incentives is an opportunity and a trap. A patient shopper can negotiate thousands off, secure an extended warranty, and walk away with more gear than they ever imagined. The key is to approach the showroom strategically. Confirm whether the free items add real value or if they mask a bloated sticker price. Check the fine print on financing. A low introductory rate may balloon after 2 years. Study depreciation patterns because trikes lose value faster than two-wheel tourers. If resale matters, choose a factory model with stronger support over a conversion with uncertain parts availability. At the same time, this window may never open again. If Harley trims production further, trikes could become rare, even collectible in certain trims. Buyers willing to hold for the long term might find themselves with bargains that gain prestige as supply tightens. But the risk is equally large. Purchase too quickly, and you could be stuck with a machine that loses $10,000 in value before the first oil change. That is why every decision now matters. Because if the next quarter goes sideways, the giveaways could become something else entirely: reallocation. This trike crisis isn't just Harley's problem. It's a signal of where the industry is heading. If you learned something today, smash that like button and drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your take. And if you're ready for the next big reveal before anyone else, hit subscribe now. The story isn't finished, and the next chapter could change everything you think you know.